Aloha, y'all. It is Monday, ruled by the moon. The 18th, oh no, the 19th, rather, sorry. 19th of October. Today is a root chakra day. If you're going to be doing chakra stuffs, the Muladhara, the root chakra, your sense of security is where it's at. Do the mudras, do the mantras. You'll find it helps quite a bit. But that is the chakra of the day, the root chakra. So today in Dream Spell is Yellow Solar Seed, guided by Universal Fire. So the Yellow Seed tribe is about targets, flowering, and awareness. The gift of your cosmic identity is to be a thriving seed of life, an agent of boundless possibility, an instrument of creative diligence, a cultural pollinator. As a yellow seed, you have the capacity to serve the flowering of human consciousness, to affirm that our shared destiny is to grow, to wield the power of intentions, words, and actions as living seeds cast into the field of potential, to tend your inner garden, weeding your mind of disserving energies, making space for your deepest aspirations to flourish, to align with the generative power of the earth, to carry on vital legacies, to plant seeds of the new, to be the fruit, be the flower. As a seed contains the hologram of its completion, we too can trust the unfolding timing of our divinely encoded potential. The direction is south, about ripening. Chakra is the root chakra. Planet is Jupiter. Solar tone 9, pulse, realize, and intention. Tone 9 represents the nonlinear connection between consciousness and the physical realm. The gift of your cosmic identity is to access the power of awakened mind. Activate your solar powers by realizing the multidimensionality of mind, by wielding intention as the catalyst and shaper of manifestation, by realizing it is the intention behind all words and deeds that is the true generator of their effects, by cultivating your capacities to receive and transmit intuitive telepathic pulses, by learning to consciously broadcast and emanate from your heart, mind, body connection as a beacon of illumination, by honoring the solar pulsations of light energy coming to us from the cosmos through the sun, by knowing our aspirations and motivations as living, pulsing forces that unfold and manifest a reality and ripple out far beyond time. So the yellow solar seed galactic affirmation is, I pulse in order to target awareness, realizing awareness. Oh, I'm sorry. I pulse in order to target, realizing awareness. I seal the input of flowering with a solar tone of intention. I'm guided by the power of universal fire. So it is a moon day, a Monday. The sun is in Libra. Um, the sun is in Libra and the moon is in Sagittarius. Mercury is in retrograde in Scorpio. Venus is in Virgo and Mars is in retrograde in Aries. So let's go ahead and get some card action. Hopefully you're all doing well. It's rather interesting times. What am I doing? There. So hopefully we're all getting through it. Don't forget it's happening through you, not to you, right? So what can we get on this moon day? What wants to pop? Two of Pentacles. Libra Sun, last degrees coming in. I mean, Scorpio season's coming up hot on Friday, I believe. Although I can't be certain about that off the top of my head. So we're coming into the last moments of Libra season, and that is being represented very succinctly with the guy holding two kind of hands. Pentacles are about the world, material things, actualization in the material, physical things, right? Two of Pentacles, striking a balance, reinventing yourself to suit your desires, riding the wave of challenge in your life. Two of Pentacles, I perfect the art of balancing responsibilities. At the core of the Starman Tarot, there sits the deck's trickster, nature, who plays with the traditional programming of the tarot, turning things on their heads. In this vein, I often fashion the earth out of the sky, and the sky out of the earth, and enjoy pushing the boundaries with how the characters are visualized in the environments in which they find themselves. Traditionally, the character in the Two of Pentacles is depicted juggling two gold pentacles bound by a ribbon or cord, which forms a lemon skate, the infinity symbol. The character is placed firmly on smooth, solid ground, while two sailing ships are wildly tossed around a volatile sea. This forms the story of a solidity, as the chaotic and shifting world transpires in the background. However, I wanted to catch my character in a time slice, as he surfed the sky on an infinity board. He is solid and sure in his own capabilities, particularly the foundational skill of balance. Even the volcanic eruption behind him is unable to shake his confidence. It's funny that it's talking about volcanoes. I'm watching an anime called Tokyo Sinks 2020, which is only 10 episodes, and it's well worth watching on Netflix. Beautiful music, characterization, and animation, but it's intense. It's about Japan sinking, and it is a volcanic island chain. Um, so even though the volcanic eruption behind him is unable to shake his that's happening, it doesn't shake his confidence. He is earthed yet not as we might expect. He is intrinsically motivated, has immense body awareness, and has married internal energy work with physical movement. He has learned how to align his body, center his awareness, allowing him to respond rapidly to any change in his environment. He is a master of his art, and he knows how to adapt to whatever comes his way, recognizing that in a state of flow, he is not moving, rather, he is being moved. His adornments are in balance. Everything is playing out perfectly for him. He rides upon infinity, the symbol of things constantly in perfection, or perfect repetition, representing the harmony of reinvesting your material gains into your gifts and passions. And that sometimes for example, I have very little money, but the money I have, I'm like, should I spend this on further education or whatever the fuck? And I get paranoid because I'm like, I don't have much. So if I get constrictive, and I'm like, if I spend it on this, I'll be wasting it or something like that. And it's like, no, we need to reinvest in ourselves. We honestly need to take the resources we have and put it into the Ouroboros to feed it further and not be constrictive like I'm saying I do. So, tisk tisk, Jim. Investing your past experiences to ensure your continued wisdom and growth as a human being. The cycle is never ending. Everything in the universe is reinvested. Beneath the appearance of chaos sits perfect harmony and balance. So even during these chaotic times, just realize it's all perfect. It's all balanced in a way that you might not comprehend as a human. At the root of your own life sits the same harmony. Everything is recycled and renewed in each moment. When faced with change, the turbulence of events that present themselves at times in life, you can ride them by maintaining practices, interests, and relationships which nourish and support your core strengths and priorities. In the moment, you can center yourself with the power of breath, respond rather than react, allowing your natural state of balance and composure to be restored. Riding the waves of life, you learn to let go of the drama and return to the equilibrium, gliding steadily on. We talked about this exactly. Ironically, I was talking about drama yesterday, but equilibrium was the main topic of one of the podcasts yesterday with Violet. I think his name was not Chad. It's a C name ending with a D. I'm pretty sure, and I'm forgetting what his name was. But Cody. Okay, there we go. Violet, Cody, Anya came on, Raphael, myself. So anyway, we're talking about balance, how to be physical and spiritual. What does that look like? How to be both things always. But it's saying you learn to let go of the drama as an attachment to expectation and stuff, and you learn to return to equilibrium, gliding steadily on. Two of Pentacles about striking a balance, reinventing yourself to suit your desires. What do you really desire in your heart? And we're not talking about desires of attachment, though I guess this could be argued, but it's like desires of like what will bring the highest excitement in my life. And you have to reorient your ship. Sometimes you're on a trajectory and you're like, oh shit, we've been in these seas for a while and I want to go this way, and that means I have to steer the rudder differently. So it's about, reinventing yourself to suit your desires. Ride in the wave of challenge in your life. Challenges come, you can't escape them, so don't think you can just tap out. Sometimes we need vacations, but don't be in vacation mode all the time. We need you conscious and on deck. This thing called life requires our commitment to participate. And sometimes it can be overwhelming. And I know as a 12th house Mercury Mars conjunct in Cancer, escapism is easy, but sometimes the difficult thing is to just maintain balance on the deck, even amidst the storms, battening down the hatches, not just drinking from the whiskey bottle and saying, yo ho, the pirate's life for me, even though the journey itself is rather fun. So, sometimes things demand responsibility out of us, right? And we have to balance those responsibilities with our needs and having fun, quote unquote. But we can't be so chaotic that we have no structure. We can't be so free that we have no rules. Like everybody has some rules to govern some cycles that recur, right? Some embodiment of balance. And that's what this guy's kind of doing. So the clarifier we've got is emotion/intellect. That's funny because I think we got the polarity of masculine and feminine yesterday. Today we're getting a similar polarity, very much Libra Sun energy, right? With the emotion/intellect, this is the 11 of water, right? And she's pretty cool looking. I like these cards. I was gifted this deck. Dreams of Gaia. I would not have bought it because I can't just buy everything I want. But I'm glad that somebody gifted this to me because I think it's added to my reality. 291. 291 if you if anybody ever, sometimes I'm like, hey, donate tip jar if you want to buy decks for me. That's cool too. I don't mind. But I mean, I've got decks I don't even use, so keep that with a grain of salt. This just happens to resonate, and it's beautiful art and it's new, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. 11 of water, emotion slash intellect. Keywords: emotion slash intellect, love, fear, expression, suppression, head, heart, ease, disease. Key phrases: influence of emotional disharmony. Both love and fear motivate. Is fear the more dominant force? Right? So it's talking about both love and fear. There's a balance in the Tao, right? Like they're both necessary for the yin yang, but it's like which one's influencing more? You have to be aware of that sometimes. Unvoiced emotions must be expressed. Address unhealthy imbalances. Suppressed emotions create disease. Seek a productive means of emotional release and be proactive and mindful of your emotions. The 11 of water is a balancing and realignment card that addresses any emotional disharmony that may be influencing your choices and environment. Balancing, redesigning. If you know, like, are you happy with surfing the way you are, or do you need to like kind of reconstitute your position on the wave? It also represents the need for us to see the whole and how an imbalance can affect it. If you have a habit that's kind of causing you imbalance, it might affect your whole wheel. Like one spoke on the wheel can cause the wheel not to operate properly. In a sense, it's paradoxical. In a sense, the wheel is always perfect, right? But in another sense, there's spokes that can get out of alignment and cause issues, and we got to be aware of that. Love and fear. How many times have you heard someone say that a choice of action was made from a place of fear, or was born of a person's insecurities and doubts, or was born of love? When we are attacked by others, we may react and retaliate because we are angry and afraid, but we may also act because we have love for ourselves and wish to address an injustice and prevent further injustice. Sun and Libra, balancing those scales. We may choose not to take a risk or make changes in our lives because we are afraid of the unknown future. But we may also choose not to take a risk that may alter our lives because we can love the life we already have. Complacency, right? We may be plagued with doubts, but we can also be blinded by love. Being blinded by love is a very Sagittarius moon issue, it seems. And maybe Libra, where it's like, oh, I just see the good things. I don't see the bad things in them. What motivates our actions the most, fear or love? The truth is that most of our actions are motivated by both in equal measure. Fear and love, like creation and destruction, cannot exist without one another. They can even appear to be the same force depending on one's perspective. And perspective is all we have, really. So honor your perspective. It's not saying you don't surf. You do surf. Just try to find find your balance on your wave. Find what resonates to you. Some people are like, oh, I like Buddhism, and why does it resonate? Don't throw that on other people. Oh, I like Christianity. Oh, I'm an agnostic. Oh, I'm an atheist. Find your balance and ride that wave. What motivates you to walk away from a friendship or relationship that is causing you hurt and disease? One person might say that you have walked away because you are afraid of being hurt further. Another might say you have walked away because you respect and love yourself and know that you deserve better. Who is right? In most situations, both are right. You are afraid of being hurt again, and you do believe you deserve better. You may also be motivated to stay in that relationship because you're afraid to leave, or because you were so in love that you are willing to forgive that one who hurt you and give them a second chance. The 11 of water signifies the need to see that you are often motivated by both forces at the same time. Love and fear are two halves of the same whole, and each flows into the other. However, an unhealthy imbalance can occur when fear becomes the dominant force and prevents you from breaking free of painful situations or relationships, thereby preventing you from leading a happy and productive life. The 11 of water also addresses the subject of suppression and expression, and Sagittarius moon is all about expression. Suppressed emotion can lead to illness. Emotional stress can manifest in the form of depression, anxiety, high blood pressure, inflammation in the body, and in turn, disease. There can be real and life-threatening consequences to suppressing fear, anger, sorrow, and other weightier emotions. The 11 of water does not suggest that life is meant to be lived on an even keel. Life will always offer up moments that will have us shouting for joy, or conversely suffering in silence. But if you express instead of suppress, you will move through life with more ease as opposed to living a life of disease and suffering. It is better to be proactive and mindful when it comes to your emotions. Never ignore them, right? So, balanced on the biggest wave. We're going to have both of these things, and they're going to look different for everybody. Hit me up for a reading if you kind of want to know what your makeup is, in a sense, because everyone's genetic and, astrological makeup is different. Situational makeup is different. But what we do is to come to a balance. And it's not to say, like, sometimes he's on a deep, steep incline of a wave. He's like, holy shit. And he's shouting for joy. And then sometimes he's just sitting on the water and it's flat and there's sharks around. He's like, oh my gosh. Right? So it's all sorts of situations. There's a volcano blowing up behind him. Apparently, somewhere. I didn't really look at this. I guess that's literally right behind him. Back there's a city in a Mayan temple or something. But the point is, things happen. Things happen in life that are, watching this Japan Sinks thing is an intense anime. I highly suggest it, but be careful because it might trigger you in terms of a few things. But the idea is catastrophe happens. People die. Relationships are strained. We have to value and appreciate the little things in our lives. Two of Pentacles is the little things, right? In a sense. Ten of Pentacles will be like, oh, I just won the jackpot. Two of Pentacles is like, are you like, feeding your cat and bathing regularly, as well as like, watching a show you like and, listening to Spotify while you work or whatever, that kind of stuff. Like, are you balancing pleasure and work? Are you balancing emotion and intellect? Your mind has to be stimulated at some level, but at some point your mind is a trap, and your emotions need to be expressed, but at some point your emotions can become whirlpools where you never get out of that maelstrom, that what's the word? Eddy is not the right word, but the current of an emotional kind of whirlpool. That's what depression is. We're just like, I can't get out. I can't get out. I can't get out. So it's like they're both valuable. We need to express our emotions practically and in the world through probably speaking it, journaling, art, stuff like that. With Venus and Virgo right now, it's about practical beauty. So it's like write a haiku expressing your frustration. Don't just shout at your neighbor. You could be very creative. Let's say your neighbor wakes up, really early and they always take out the trash and it's loud. This is a word example. And it's like, write a haiku about that. It'll bring expression and it'll bring clarity, but also closure in some way. Complete surrender, Lyra, is what we're getting today. Surrender, right? And this isn't, in order to basically surf, that is what someone is doing. They're surrendering to the motion of the ocean. They have to balance on it and orient themselves, but they're a part of bigger forces. We have to orient ourselves, but we're part of bigger forces. The emotion and the mind, like the emotional body and the mental body, are bigger forces than, our ego, in a sense. So we're going to need to come into complete surrender to understand how to best navigate this. 70, Lyra, future timeline. Oh, I opened right to it. What do you know about that? Beautiful. No work on my end. 70, Lyra, complete surrender, future timeline. For aeons, the ancient Lyrans applied the masculine principle of pushing or forcing reality to conform to their desires, right? In order to transform, they eventually had to surrender, to let go of the need for control and trust the universe to be as it is and as it needs to be in every moment. There's never a moment that's out of alignment in a way. I mean, this is a weird way to look at this. But it's like when you're on a tsunami, the tsunami's happening, enjoy it. When you're on calm waters, it's calm. It is what it is. You can't, thrashing about only causes more drama. And just, frustration, essentially, because like you'll be like, I want to be on a wave if it's not, or you're like, oh my gosh, this wave's too big when you're on a tsunami wave, right? This is a hard lesson for the Lyrans, as it is for you. I'm learning this. This is Gene Key 25, I think we read today. And it was about acceptance. That is surrender. That's a Gene Key I actually have, and it's a master key. It's a programming partner to 46, which Raphael has, which is like ecstasy and stuff like that. So it's like, I need to accept everything. I need to accept that there's people that are going to be Nazis. I need to accept that there's people who are going to be good Samaritans. I need to accept that there's black holes. I need to accept that there's, God, or you just see what I'm saying? I need to come to acceptance. I can't, that's the peace, the beyond understanding, the peace that comes through acceptance. Lieutenant Dan and Saving Private Ryan's thrashed about being a crazy motherfucker because he has expectations. I've got to die the way my forefathers have, and I have an honor and an impression that I have to meet these expectations. And then when he expresses himself, right, his emotions and intellect, he has a thought in his mind, and he expresses it, right? And Lieutenant Dan, whose two legs are not working, he loses both legs, I think, has to surrender completely. And when he does, he comes to his Zen mode, and he knows how to operate, and he's acceptant of his place in life because it is where he is. Don't fight it. It is time now to change. So this was a hard lesson for the humans, or Lyrans rather, as it is also for you. You, like most humans, have a karmic pattern of trying to control reality. It is time now to change that pattern. Practice trusting and surrendering to the universe on a daily basis, even with the small things, even with the Two of Pentacles things, right? All the small things, completely surrender. I just did a remix of two songs, haha. Anyway, as you do this, you will begin to heal this ancient karmic pattern. Commentary: this Lyran time stream represents the Lyran culture after they healed their karma and the challenges of the past when they were a young species. Specifically, this card represents the transformation of several negative traits of the ancient Lyran forefathers that always kept them trying to control reality. There's a higher plan, and in those early days of the Lyran civilization, they preferred to try to push and control events, even against the flow of the natural energy. Don't force things. This left them creating a lot of conflict and strife within their civilization. Eventually, as the species matured, they began to recognize that there is indeed a higher plan and it is impossible to ever control events. We're always buoys on the wave. You know, the ocean is, and the ocean does. It's high tide, it's low tide, and you're just on it like a little boat, a little surfer, just being like, all right, can I choose and learn how to participate well with this emotionally and intellectually? Mind, body. Mind, heart, emotions, whatever. Intellect, emotion is what I'm trying to say. Because you have to balance that stuff in complete surrender. You're in a situation where you have some influence in terms of what you can influence. Don't force things. Right? That's what happened with Anakin in Star Wars. He was like, I'm having dreams about Padme, not having a good time. It was a possible timeline he was kind of tapping into. And then he tried to control the situation. He ends up killing his wife, spoiler alert. He ends up becoming fucking Darth Vader, losing a bunch of limbs, becoming a fucking cyborg devil or whatever. I maybe talk about Star Wars a lot because I have this obsidian Darth Vader head it's chilling next to me. So I reference Star Wars quite a bit. Plus, it's always fun. Anyway, I'll keep reading. Sorry. There is a higher plan, and in those early days of the Lyran civilization, they preferred to try to push and control events, even against the flow of energy, natural energy. This left them creating a lot of strife and conflict within their civilization. Eventually, as a species, they matured, and they began to recognize that there is indeed a higher plan, and it is impossible to ever control events. They learned to let go and ride the wave. Once again, the two with the surfer, more resonance, right? Ride the wave of the universe and healed their obsessive need to control. This is an extremely important card for the Earth at this time because most humans as individuals and the species as a whole are addicted to the need of control and don't realize that this only creates suffering. When we try to tell people they should vote this way or think this way or do these things or don't do these things or whatever, when we try to control, it really creates a lot of suffering and we can't control. It's like whack-a-mole. If you've ever played that in like an arcade or something, it's like, oh, I got that one. And then something else pops up elsewhere. And then it turns into this infinite suffering because you're trying to control things. It's craziness. This is what Buddha was saying. Oh my God, like try to just enjoy. That game is a game you could choose to play, but it's not a good look. If this card comes up in your reading, the suggestion is to seriously take a look at your desire to control reality and begin to learn how to let go more. Learning to surrender is a challenging experience, but it is an essential aspect of personal and planetary evolution. I mean, I'm having to surrender all the time. I have expectations about what music or my future or what marriage might look like, or even should I smoke weed or not, like these kinds of things. And I just have to be like, I accept the moment as it is, and the synchronicities that come will orchestrate me in such a way that I can respond in a balanced Two of Pentacles way in order to surf the wave as it is. And there's always opportunities, and there's you can't force anything. If the baby doesn't want to be born, it's not going to pop. I mean, you can rip it out of the stomach, right? But look how much suffering and damage that causes. Not to hate on cesarean sections. You get my analogy, I believe. Sometimes I say things and it's like, that's not exactly what I mean, but you know what I mean. So reliability. This is very Two of Pentacles. Are we being reliable with what we've been given? Our steward. We've been given things, right? In this world. Relationships, positions of jobs, material things. We're here to be stewards and to choose wisely and not to be swayed too much by our ego, our intellect, and not to be too much swayed by the ego in the form of the emotions, to find a balanced place and surrender to the moment as it is. I mean, wake up, be grateful, and say, I have these stats on my RPG character, and I have this in my items list. It's like an RPG, and it's like, what do you have? If you choose to go on an adventure and acquire more goods, cool. Ride the wave that goes that way with the least resistance, right? You see what I'm saying? But be reliable. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Show up, be there. So, GOAT, 19, reliability. Do what you say you're going to do, and don't be double-minded. That could be the double-minded of Libra and Gemini, where it's like, Sun is in Libra right now, and it's like, oh, I see, coming to this place where it's not either or, it's both, and it's just a matter of when, not if. All is possible at certain times. Reliability. Is your word reliable? Can you be counted upon? Make sure you're make your way successfully, step by step, steady as she goes. And that's kind of what this guy's doing. Steady as she goes down the wave of life. It's like, right? He's being as steady as possible. He's surrendering completely to the wave, 11 of water, using both his feelings, following his highest excitement, and intellect, like which wave should I catch, and not being overwhelmed by either. We should climb mountains, not carry them. So if you have burdens, breathe through it, accept the situation, try to look at it as lessons. So I say this to myself just as much as y'all. Trust me, I'm learning this on the daily, on the plank second. Mythos. We learn about Tagnir and Tognostor, the goats who pulled the god Thor's chariot in the stories of the Poetic Edda, compiled in the 13th century from earlier traditional sources, the Prose Edda, written by Snorri Sturluson in the 13th century. Following is but one of the story of the goats and the thunder god. Thor and Loki were once traveling together for the purpose of troll hunting. They were traveling upon the chariot pulled by Thor's two ferocious goats, right? And goats are like Saturn, Capricornian, the Capricorn goat, right? This guy's surfing down a volcanic mountain. A lot of twos, you see my point. Emotion, intellect. Libra, sun. So he was traveling with the goats. The day drew to a close, and the two gods sought shelter at a farmhouse. The peasant family who lived there was shocked to see the two gods, but obviously welcomed them to their humble abode. Thor's goats were magical and were able to be killed for food by Thor's hammer Mjolnir, and then at dawn the next day they would return to the living by blessing of the same hammer. So Thor always had a reliable source of food with him. He told the peasants they could share the meal of the magical goats, but they were not to split the bones in any way, as the bones were needed to be unharmed so the goats could successfully regenerate at first light. The humans agreed to this and enjoyed the meal provided by Thor. But Thialfi, the son of the farmer, could not resist secretly cracking one of the leg bones open to suck out some of the delicious marrow, some of the best eating of the goat that could be had. Mercury and Scorpio retrograde. It's like, oh, I'm going to do things I'm not supposed to do, taboos. I'm going to think thoughts and act secretly, right, in a sense. I'm going to go against the actions of the group's best interest, Mars in retrograde. Dawn came, and Thor laid all the bones upon the skin so they could reassemble magically into the living goats. However, Thor noticed one of the goats had a lame leg. Thor became very angry, knowing that someone had cracked one of the leg bones when they had given their word to the contrary. Frightened by the god's anger, Thialfi admitted his guilt and offered himself and his sister to the god as his servants. Thor quieted his anger and agreed, and this is how one of Thor's goats became lame, but still remained powerful and steady. So, changed, right? The goat has to completely surrender to its nature now. I'm a lame goat, but it still has power. It's not like totally helpless, right? The animal. While we cannot be sure of what kind of goats pulled Thor's chariot, many of the symbols and descriptions are reminiscent of either the endemic mountain goat or the hardy domesticated mountain goat. The mountain goats in the traditional Norse lands, i.e. like, Norway and shit, Iceland, are magnificent creatures, well-furred, sure-footed, and mightily horned. We have mountain goats here in Colorado. Goats have been providers of skins, milk, cheese, meat, drinking horns, and building materials, and they were one of the first animals to be domesticated by man. Venus and Virgo, practical beauty coming from all the parts of the animal. Let's use his horn for Baphomet rituals, or you know what I'm saying. I'm just being kind of facetious, but it's like this thing has all, like, let's have a drinking horn, and we can have a sheep's fur blanket or whatever. All these things. Goats have been providers. I said this already. So cheese, all these things, milk. As such, they were loved and by humans in a domestic, as domestic animals. There are now over 200 species of goats. That's a lot. Goat magic. Goat magic, and specifically the magic of Thor's mountain goats, is one of reliability and sure-footedness. Goats are remarkably athletic and agile on mountainsides and difficult terrain. They are robust creatures able to withstand the cold or rough environments and are available to all people, rich or poor. Both. That's the balance of the Libra scales. Like, both parties are able to tap into this. Call upon goat energy when you need stability and balance in a precarious situation, or when you need nourishment after a period of scarcity. Symbology is horns, bones, sure-footedness, thunder, a chariot pulled by goats, statuses of least concern. There's lots of goats. They're not going anywhere fast. So that's cool. So, but once again, two goats, two of pentacles. The pentacles is an earth sign. They were climbing mountain goats, right? So you get what I'm dropping, I think. Marina Abramovic. She's an interesting artist. She has a great documentary called, I forget what it's called now, Spacing. It says something about it in the card, actually, so I'll just keep shutting my mouth and reading the card. So, Marina Abramovic. And we're about to enter Scorpio season this week. There's that. Sagittarius moon is the archer, right? She's holding a bow and arrow. And we're in the Libra scales, and I don't know if you can see, but there's two very Libra scaly kind of tables set up, balanced. Marina Abramovic, 1997 Venice Biennale Golden Lion winner, emerged in the 1970s with works in which she punished her mind and body, demonstrating composure and discipline in the face of whips, knives, flames, uppers, downers, and carbon monoxide poisonings. She was balanced. She was completely surrendered emotionally and intellectually in very difficult situations physically, which she induced onto herself. Abramovic considers energy in the absence of stimulation. For her record-breaking performance, The Artist is Present, which is the documentary title, at New York's MoMA, she dressed in a gown and sat for 3 months, staring deeply into the soul of each viewer who'd queued for hours or days for the honor. Incidentally, a man down the street from the MoMA recreated the performance just now, but only the cops came. Mars in retrograde. It's like, no, we're not going to let you do that. She did that. You can't. So it says, discipline is both a noun and a verb. Right? You can discipline somebody, but you can have discipline. Right? You could be disciplined. And with the Two of Pentacles, it's about being balanced and disciplined, having self-discipline in a sense of the material world. You can, have fun, but not too much. Be serious, but don't be rigid, right? Be balanced in your emotion and intellect. You can solve all problems internally. You don't even really need anything outside of yourself. Surrender to the fact that you have all the tools at your disposal at every time. The universe is reliably giving you opportunities to be reliable to yourself and others. Like, you have everything you ever need. And Marina is showing us that discipline is both a noun and a verb. So this guy, it takes discipline and concentration to be balanced on this wave, right? He's like having to think about it and come into a place of like not emotional overwhelm where he's like, oh my God, am I going to drown? And he's not overthinking it, being like, my left foot goes 90 degrees and then I do this. It's like you're not even having fun on the wave at that point, right? So it's a balance of being in the Tao. We are emotional beings. We are mental beings. You need to completely surrender to the process. You will find your sure-footedness and your reliability when you do that. When you thrash about like Lieutenant Dan, you're going to be in a dramatic fucking futile mess, and that's what we have to learn how to get through. Those events happen. Don't beat yourself up. You can work through them quickly or slowly, depending on your preferences and belief systems, right? Discipline is both a noun and a verb, though. So you can discipline others. It's an action of discipline, but at the same time, you can be a disciple, in a sense, the discipline of the moment. We've got Magnesite. That's a crazy looking card. If the moon was a Sagittarius, be like, do what I want. I'm free as a bird. So there might be some impulsivity kind of modes, feelings with the moon and Sag. We want magic. We want magic now. So this is what it is. Heady magnesite is a magnesium carbonate crystal that ranges in color from clear to porcelain, white to off-pink to sepia-toned. Its sometimes grooved, brain-like appearance mimics its cerebral energy. Who needs it? Intellectuals, Aquarians. Where to put it? Wherever you go to quiet the mind or wake the fuck up. That's kind of a pun, right? On like New Age, gonna get woke. When to use it? When you're just too smart for your own good. When you're completely lost in your thoughts. I'm guilty of this all the time, ask Kaylee. Or they're running wild, dragging you behind them, right? Are your thoughts, are you surfing thoughts right now, or emotions even? Are you being a victim to your thoughts? This is what we need. We can quantumly entangle with magnesite. When you're completely lost in your thoughts, or they're running wild, dragging you behind them, remember, the mind is a powerful thing. You rule it. You're the one in charge of your mind and emotions and your intellect and everything. You're in charge, embodied. Like, that's part of the being of the meat suit. If you're feeling frenzied and frantic and stuff, take some deep breaths. Sniff some chamomile. Have some lavender tea. Like there's things you can do, right, that are healthy. There's a spectrum here. You can do heroin, I guess, to calm down if you really want to. This kind of looks like a ball of heroin, I imagine, or chewed gum. I'm not sure. I've never done heroin. But yeah, it's saying, remember, the mind is a powerful thing. You rule it, or it rules you. So is he getting tossed around by the wave, or is he riding the wave? Is he controlling it, or is it controlling him? Meditate every day and show it who's boss with magnesite. Get your mind right. And I think there's a practical mentality to this Two of Pentacles. It's like, and with the Libra Sun, that's an air, intellectual sign, right? With the moon in Sag, which is this fiery, emotional kind of like passion, we have the ability to understand that we're passionate beings embodied with phases, just like the moon. There's like joy, there's sorrow, there's dullness, there's scattered mindedness is even what I'm showing now. Mercury retrograde for sure. And we are always at the helm of that wave. We're in control, right? Get your mind right. Sometimes getting your mind right means taking some deep breaths. Sometimes getting your mind right means like taking a vacation. Sometimes getting your mind right means getting into work and not like avoiding it. You got to balance your mind, got to balance your emotions with acceptance, with complete surrender. Everything is as it needs to be. What is the lesson? This wave is exactly what I need to do. How do I ride it? Right? I have a mind. How do I use it? Well, how do I not let it use me? With like fears and vain imaginations. How I have emotions. How do I use them well without being emotionally overwhelmed and shutting down and becoming despondent, right? Or it's depressed like that. We are here to be reliable, to be balanced, right? Discipline is both a noun and a verb. So disciplining your mind, getting your mind right, is something you do and something you are. Somebody who is balanced and like Zen or whatever, they've accepted things to a point where they've risen above the fray. They're walking on water. That's a choice. Or you can be like, oh my God, all these waves. Oh my God, I'm going to drown. Oh my gosh, there's electric eels coming in, sharks. Oh my gosh, here comes a fucking maelstrom. And that's a choice. You can submit to your perceptions. Or you can conquering is too strong a word. Maybe discipline them. I mean, it's the whole point. You can discipline them, and then disciplining paradoxically, you have to be balanced with discipline. Sun and Libra, right? You can't just be such a taskmaster that you never lighten up. That's not what we're here for. It's not just to keep all the rules. You'll go insane. But at the same time, it's not to be like, I fly and flut and do whatever I want. It's like, no, sometimes, there's, cycles of a plant, like, seed to sprout to dying. And it's like, you have to be where you need to be in that cycle. It's just how it be. All right. So I guess my brother's girlfriend's in the other room, I think taking an exam. She's going to be a doctor and she's doing all these exams. I'm going to play an acoustic guitar song just so I don't ruin that experience for her or whatever. Hopefully she's taking a test and she's not like, oh my gosh, I couldn't think because of your guitar playing on the electric. So I'm not going to play electric guitar today, which I wasn't expecting because she just started doing this. So let me think. I'll play Pink Floyd. Breathe, which is one technique that we can really do, but talking about balanced on the biggest wave is one of the lyrics, right? And it's a very Rabbit Hole song, quite frankly. So, Breathe by Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon. When I first got stoned, ever, for the first time in my life, I smoked like a quarter out of a bong, and I was like, I don't feel it, I don't feel it, I don't feel it. And then I was like, oh my God, I feel it. And I was high for like 3 days. And I proceeded to listen to Dark Side of the Moon on cassette tape and just be like, oh my gosh, like hear it in a very different way. So it's not only a psychedelic album, it actually ties very deeply to my first major psychedelic experience, I guess you could say. So, take this out a little so I can hear. that hole, forget the sun. And when at last the work is done, God, I totally lost my place. Don't sit down, it's time to start another one. Long you live and high you fly, but only if you ride the tide, balanced on the biggest wave, race towards an early grave. And this is the reprise, I'll just go ahead and do it, I guess. Home, home again. I like to be there when I can. When I come home cold and tired, it's good to warm my bones beside a fire. Far away across the fields, the tolling of the iron bell calls the faithful to their knees to hear the softly spoken magic spells. Or something. So, and even that, it's very Sagittarius moon, you know, the faith of the people going to church or whatever, to hear the magic spells. Mercury and Scorpio. So, are we balanced on the biggest wave? Are we doing the right things? Sometimes we need a break, but we need to be honest with ourselves. Sometimes we need a break, sometimes we need to do the work. We need to not be emotionally overwhelmed or nor intellectually overwhelmed. Find that balancing point by what? Complete surrender, right? Even that existential kind of thing, I was like, you dig that hole, catch the sun, and when you're done, there's another one. Oh my gosh, you have to surrender to the process of life. We're reliably showing up as consciousness in a form of consciousness to be consciousness in this form. You can't fight it, you can't run away from it, right? So you might as well learn how to balance and ride that fucking sucker, being an emotional and intellectual being, surrendering completely to the moment as it stands, not maybe clinging to hopes and experiences in an unhealthy way, right? Be reliably present, because discipline is both a noun and a verb. We should be disciplined enough to be balanced, essentially, two of pentacles, and simultaneously we should not be such a disciplinarian that we don't know how to lighten up and have fun on that wave. Magnesite is saying get your mind right. So hopefully today, even though there's a Mercury retrograde and a Mars retrograde and many other retrogrades, Neptune and Pisces retrograde and stuff like that, so Chiron in retrograde, hopefully we're in this place where we can be acceptant of what is, poised to move through what is to be, and embrace all the levels of ourselves. The embodiment as a human in the body form, the spiritual nature of being a spiritual being, the emotional reality of being an emotional being, all the levels. You see what I'm kind of saying? So hopefully that makes sense. Hit me up for a reading if you want. I think I was told I had a podcast today, but I told him I couldn't do it, so we're not doing a podcast today. We have one tomorrow on Stanley Kubrick with a few people from Sync Book, as well as an Emmy-winning documentarian cinematographer. That should be fun, because Stanley Kubrick is a fucking mind trip. And I think Angela, who was Elizabeth Bobo, who's been on the podcast, her shaman, Angela Kruger, I think her name is, she's coming on the podcast. I got to double check to make sure she's still cool with that. But she does Cambo, I think ayahuasca, other stuff, right? So that should be interesting. She travels the world doing that shit. So I'm digressing. If you want to hit me up for a reading, if you want, that's always fun. And yeah, just stay balanced on the biggest wave. Life is the biggest wave. You are the still point on that wave. Wave particle duality, emotion, intellect, right? Both and. Submit to the Tao. It's happening. Just enjoy the ride. How? Reliably show up. Don't just dissipate, disappear. Be disciplined, right? And it's both a noun and a verb. Get your mind right. Have a better relationship with, responsibility, and have a better relationship with Sun and Libra, right? We're coming to this place of maturity in our truth, Sagittarius moon, That's kind of where we're at right now. So hopefully y'all have a good day. If you like this, tag people, share it, whatever's clever, and I will catch y'all on the flip side.